Okay, how are we now? Ah, there we are. All right. There. Thanks, Race. How are you this evening? I'm quite well, to answer your previous question. Thank you. Um, whoops. All right. Well, see, this is why I asked. I asked everyone, and not that you could hear me, but I asked if there was any issues with the stream to let me know, because YouTube messed around with stuff on their back end. So it looks like there are some changes to the way streaming is set up, via at least on the YouTube end of things. So, you know, if anything is weird, if anything is particularly weird, do let me know. Excuse me. All right, nothing new. All right, so yeah, we're just going into Sigismund's camp. Hey, look, it might be YouTube's fault. It might be OBS did something weird with. It's possible OBS did something weird with my default settings or something. Who knows? All kinds of things could happen. But in any case, we're back. We're back. We're back. So the thing I was just saying, I forgot to look at which path I was supposed to go. I was just saying that it is Erica's birthday today, my wife. So if you're in the chat and want to wish her a happy birthday, you should do so. If you haven't already in Discord, you can in there too. She's in there, and I'm sure we'll appreciate a happy birthday or two. Let me see if I can shoot this dead guy down. Huh? Oh wait. That's a tough shot. Can't even see the rope. At this time of night, that might be impossible. Anyway, go over and make sure you wish Erica a happy birthday if you haven't already, or if you have, nothing's stopping you from doing it again. I'm gonna try this one. This one might be easier. Also got these big broadhead arrows. Darn it. Like, I think I can do this, right? It's doable. Oh, okay, maybe it's not then. Alright, because I'm pretty sure that hit. So if that didn't register, then I don't think it's gonna. I think it's possible. Anyway, I'll say also on that note, Tyrant of Chatterversity's channel on his own second channel did a screen tested episode on a whole bunch of like arrow myths, and one of them was cutting through a rope under tension with an arrow like that.
Oh, you pooch!
And he discovered that it is doable with the right arrowhead and a great deal of luck, because he hit it dead on a few times, and it had to hit just right.
Your men
Good evening,
smashed all my pictures. And on top of that, they drank nearly a whole barrel of wine. And poor Dorota had to flee to the woods from your savages. She's lucky she got away with her honor intact.
I see. We pay everything and punish very hard. Who was there?
How am I supposed to know their names? 5 of them there was. All in your uniforms.
Quiet now. I only asking.
Like them drunks will tell you anything if you threaten them with a whipping.
They tell me.
Greetings.
Okay. I mean, you look really drunk.
I know you. I see you before.
Me? No, you're mistaking me for someone else.
Now, Zudnakam, where we know us from?
From the camp, most likely. I've been here for ages, you know. Once I even cleaned out your latrine.
You? I no think so. I watch you now.
Shoot. Well, that's not ideal. Not ideal. Well, we do need to talk to Catherine, and we probably need a bath. Ooh, also getting into 100%ing my second Hogwarts Legacy file. I have not 100%ed either of mine. I maybe should. Particularly now that I have a, let's say, an official copy of the game. I maybe should, though. I'll come back. Just gonna explore the camp, see what there is to do. There's the one guy who wants me to steal for Sigismund. I'm not gonna do that. Again, I think that would be
One covering up the
helping
wrongdoings of the
helping
other.
the wrong kind of guy.
Forget about woman's skin-deep beauty. If
What's all this
thine
thing?
eyes offend thee, pluck them out. If thine tongue offends thee, cut it out. Return to God. Pray and beg him to free you from base desires. Beg him for forgiveness for being brought into this world by a woman.
Wait, what?
I wish he was, because it can hardly be
What kind of Gnostic nonsense is this?
I'm sorry.
See, that guy looks like Henry. I could have just been that guy. Entirely possible.
You really don't know anything about this? But Zavish invited all his men.
Like I said, we were away. Zarvish sent us to find some bastard who's been ambushing travellers. So how was it? Did Jezek come back and try his luck again?
Who knows where the devil he's gone? Some lad was here and said he was going to fight on his behalf.
And what did Zarvish do?
What could he do? His honor was at stake.
And how did it go?
Oh, okay. They're just gonna wander off and end the conversation. Yeah, even I know Grace isn't from Ontario. It's Nova Scotia, right? Right? I say with measured confidence. Oh, gosh. Look at that rusted chainmail. Wow, okay, that's... Whew, that's unfortunate. It's like saying I'm from Alabama or something. Oh.
Get going or you'll get it.
Didn't realize I wasn't supposed to be there. Put it in some vinegar for like 72 hours. It'll be fine. First of all, that is a great deal of vinegar to saturate a chainmail hauberk. Like that's a lot. That is a lot of vinegar to use.
You have a kind master, eh,
I don't need to sharpen anything. It was below -10 there. Gosh, okay. High today was about 70 Fahrenheit, which whatever that is for you guys. So it's getting nice out, but not what I would call cold.
last time, and the time before that. And now I ain't no material to forge anything for you.
How dare you speak to me like that, you louse? Have you forgotten who's in charge here? I know full well you rob our soldiers here. You get them to pay for repairs you never do.
But that's not true.
Then you're a right idiot, and I'm not surprised you don't have a groschen. You'll make me new horseshoes, or I'll deal with you.
Huh. Can probably handle that situation.
Greetings, sir. Who are you?
You do not know who I am? Have you just crawled out from under a dung heap? I'm Grossav of Borumraka. What do you want from me?
Nothing. I just wanted to talk to you.
You and half the camp. I don't have time for you, peasant. I'm in charge of the whole place here. Got that?
Sorry, I didn't mean to waste your time.
Then do not waste my time.
Okay then. Gosh, 70 degrees would be hot for you. That's unfathomable to me. 70 degrees is when I open the windows because it's nice and chilly out. Not exactly, but once it gets into the 60s. Like, if it's at, like, I don't know, 65, 68, something like that, I open the windows because it's nice out. And then I don't close them again until it goes back above 70. I don't care how cold it gets. The windows stay open. Anyway, where's that blacksmith? I might want to see if I can maybe help him. I know the smithy was back this way. Yeah, here.
Greetings to you. How can I help?
Oh, no, okay, never mind. Imps and Bass, should a Catholic family produce a priest or monk or nun every 3 generations? At least. Unless you mean a priest, like alternating through. A priest one generation, a monk the next, a nun the next. I think that's a little more appropriate. Like, quite frankly, I should think that it is that it's perfectly reasonable for a Catholic family to produce a religious vocation every generation or close enough to every generation. If not every generation, maybe it misses one. But most Catholic families should produce a religious vocation. Which frankly would be a lot easier if people had more kids. A lot of people these days do not have stopped having more than 1 or 2 kids. And if you have 1 kid, I understand, wanting to carry on the line, right? Fine. Whatever. Reasonable. But if like us, you have 5, if 1 or 2 of them discerns a calling to the religious life, wonderful. Now, they're too young at this point. I don't know which one or which 2 would be more likely to do that, but you never know. You never know. We'll have to see. Imsim says it was of no surprise. I've discerned my calling to husbandhood and fatherhood, but ask God in lieu of religious life that he make me a father of priests. See, that's, there you go. That's, amen. I think everyone should be a father of priests, whether that is a spiritual father, that being a priest who passes that on to the next generation, or a biological father who begets children who will become priests. And yes, by the way, we have 5 now.
Good day.
Way to bury the lead, I suppose. Ben was born this weekend. That's Benedict Nicholas McCoy was born very, very early Saturday morning. Just a little guy by our standards, but by the standards of the rest of our family. But I was, surprised to hear all of the nurses say, "Oh, he's so big, he's gigantic, he's enormous, he's a big boy, isn't he?" I was like, "Yeah, I guess, but he's smaller than he's actually the middle child in terms of birth rate. He's smaller than Saoirse and Michael, or Michael and Saoirse, if we're going in order, and larger than Gabe and Monica.
Oh my! It seems my
Henry!
well ruffled up.
Foul
to see
weather,
you
isn't
guys
it?
help me.
Yeah, It's really nasty out today.
Good dog.
The best thing would be
Good
to go
boy.
to bed till it blows over.
You saying? All right. Well, let's go through with this. Whatever we're doing here.
Well, do you have any news about what happened to Mandalina?
Oh, I hate it when I'm right. Instead of burying that fucking hag alive, they gave her house arrest somewhere in the countryside because they said her soul is ill.
Well, yeah.
Well,
It is.
at least you won't hurt anybody anymore, right?
And how can you be so sure? What if it overwhelms her again? She grabs a knife and rips open some poor sleeping woman like a lamb.
I'm sure they'll hide the knives from her and lock the women up at night. They know very well what she did.
Damn it, Henry, don't be a fool. Oh, I still think I should have cut her throat.
If you don't recall, this was the woman who was killing her son's, let's say, suitors. Harlots, whatever. Essentially a serial killer with who was a lesser noble and so had a great deal of resources. Oops. My coffee. This is definitely a Leanix and Broch's conversation. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Except, you know, Leanne would have said, I wish I had run her through rather than slit her throat, but, you know, that's just more her violent style.
God be with you.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, yeah, let's see where this goes, shall we?
Now she's maybe got away with it, but not for eternity.
There
For
you go.
eternity.
Yeah, see, there you go. This is very Ambrosia.
I'd enjoy the idea of her burning in hell if she were already there. She can still do more damage while she's alive. What would you say if I kept telling you to forget about Sigismund? About revenge?
But that's different. Sigismund is still here and hurting people.
Good thinking,
That
Henry.
helper of hers who really murdered those girls is out of the game. She can't manage it herself. She's not a threat to anyone.
But what if she is? If anybody else dies because of her, then it'll be my mistake. I'll be burning in hell with her.
I wouldn't worry about it that much. She got away with it because nobody realized what she was. That's not going to happen now.
Maybe you're right. At least, I hope so. And maybe when I find out where she is, and it's not going to be so bad, eh? There's a solution for everything. And you helped me a lot with it, Henry. I have to reward you. Here. Take it.
Oh, what'd you get me? Oh, like, what'd you get me? Okay.
I apologize.
Oh, sorry. Didn't show up. Anyway, Captain, you had more to say, didn't you?
Ah, there you are.
Henry? What are you doing here?
Zizka sent me. Is there somewhere we can talk?
This should have been
In
first.
private, I mean.
Oh, my Christ. Oh, you've come up with another plan, haven't you? All right.
Have you
But
not?
better
You're in
come
the
this
enemy's
evening.
camp.
We're too easily seen right now.
Okay, well, I gotta meet up with her in the evening, so that means I have time to kill. Oops, not that. Forget, what is rest? It's select. Right, okay. Oh, it's still morning. Alright, fine. Maybe I'll do some... smithing. Maybe I'll just stand in the rain and yap some. Because I have some things to yap about. That'd be fine. Henry doesn't seem to mind standing in the rain. Oh, I don't have anything I would need for any of this. Oh, except for an executioner's axe. I could make one of those, but no real need for it. Nobleman's horseshoes. Oh, to clarify, it is not 70 degrees right now. It was 70 degrees at like 1 in the afternoon. Right now it's 59 Fahrenheit.
Christ, pardon me.
Which is like 28, maybe? Something like that, Celsius, give or take. No. No, like 34. I think it's like 34. That can't be right. There's no way that's right. It was 29. Okay. Oh, I was right the first time. I was right instinctively before I tried to do any math. Would you look at that? Anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna wait over here with Pebbles and yap a bit while I wait some. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can get a bath and clothes washed, kind of actual bathhouse services stuff. Hold on a minute. $27. Okay. Yeah, I said 28. You first said 29, then you said 27. You know, I buy it. We're in the range there.
If you need a bath, you're in the right place.
Yes, please.
You're up bright and early today. What would you like?
The bath maids in a military camp must be on their toes all the time, eh?
You can say that again. My girls don't even get a moment's rest all day long. Sometimes I have to drive those randy blokes off with a broom so they can eat and drink in peace.
So the baths bring in the coin?
Not so much, unfortunately. Nobody's battling. Those blokes have nothing to do, and they're running wild. And that's nothing but trouble. They get in fights amongst each other.
Who's causing trouble?
Everybody. But the Hungarians and Cumans most of all.
I think that's most
None
of them,
of us
though.
understand their gibberish. When they're in a good mood and have some coin, they can even be quite nice. Then the girls even enjoy taking care of them. But when they're thirsty and skint, they're like animals.
Do the nobles from the upper camp come here too?
Everyone comes here. But we do like seeing the nobles more, because they pay well. And they like taking 2 girls at once.
And do they at least pay twice as much then?
Oh, do they ever? When the girls really make an effort, even 3 times as much. See you later.
Uh-huh. Well, that's something. Anyway. There's somewhere I can just lie down and take a rest. There we go.
What are you doing here? I won't have you causing trouble here, laddie. Cough up some coin, or we'll report you to the bailiff.
What? Fine,
Oh,
whatever.
you're right. Here's compensation.
That's better. Now get lost. That's more like it.
Really? I can't take a nap? Not gonna let me take a nap? That's unfortunate.
Everything is in its place. Thank God.
I was literally sleeping. Okay, what did you think I was stealing? Come on now.
Greetings.
Is she
Good
gonna
to
let me
see
actually-
you, lad.
No, I'm not actually gonna be able to have a bath. Well, that's unfortunate. That's really nice. Anyway, let's just hang around for a little bit, and like I said, I'll yap for some time. I slept for 20 minutes. You know what? It's something. That's great. So anyway, couple of other interesting things in addition to a child being born, which wonderful thing. I also got a wonderful little gift for him. You can't see it. Can you see it? Maybe. Anyways, this is the Summa Theologiae for babies, prima pars, by Adelaide Gulick. Anyway, it is. I read through it. This was a Christmas present for Benedict, from a friend of mine. You know who you are, so thank you if you want to watch this. I will say, having read through it myself, he is still, I will say, far too little to actually get anything out of the board book, because he doesn't see with his eyes really yet. Then again, I may read it to Gabriel at some point. He's old enough. That said, looking through the actual contents, yes, it is absolutely, it's targeted to a baby audience, you know, as most of these board book kind of things are, and yet, it is absolutely the case that I think most of my intro level undergraduates would certainly learn a thing or two from the baby version of the Sympathy. So any audience, I guess. That isn't to say that it's not to say that it is extremely advanced. It's not extremely advanced. It is absolutely a basic summary of theology for babies, and yet most kids these days haven't learned any basic theology, whether for babies or not. So the baby level stuff is going to be a novelty even for a lot of grown-ups, which is really that tickles me a little bit. I think it's fun. I'm not even on a path. What are you doing, Catherine? What is this? You're dumping that in my ear. Perhaps I will stand somewhere where I'm not going to have water dumped.
All right.
Over here by the fire. I'm going to sit. How would I sit? Sit. That's better, right? That's better. Really, buddy? Anyway, that was that's great. I'm enjoying it so far. Cute. Gosh. So another thing I wanted to look at while I've kind of got the time to yap, is I wanted to very briefly look over that. If you remember, there was a story week or two ago, I suppose. I think I mentioned it very briefly, maybe last week, where there was a student at Oklahoma University. That's it. Who submitted a paper for her psychology class to some kind of trans non-binary professor, adjunct professor. And failed, got a 0. And I think I can lend some of my my professional opinion to this matter, because I did manage to find here, published by Turning Point USA, their local chapter at their university, the rubric for the assignment as well as the full text of the paper itself. Okay, so the summary version of this that I want to say is that if me just reading the paper, which again I have here, the whole thing. It's what, like 3 pages or 4 pages or something. It's almost 5. It is, it's okay. It's decent. It's okay for what it is, right? Because it is essentially a response paper to an article. Right, and that's really all, right? It's there to demonstrate engagement with the material, and actual intellectual engagement with the material rather than just a basic summary. It's designed as a sort of response paper. And as far as that goes, it's decent. It's pretty well put together. The big issues are, as a lot of people have noted, lack of a lot of citations and actual sourcing in the arguments. But beyond that, it is not too bad. I would probably give it something like a B. Something like that. With my grading standards, I'd give it like maybe a low B. Given that the assignment is on a 25-point scale, I'd probably give it 21 or so out of 25. Something like that. However, The rubric is as follows.
When it rains, it pours.
First thing is the length requirement. I will deduct 10 points if your paper is between... Oh, it has to be 650 words. If it's between 620 and 649, I'll deduct 10 points, and I will not give credit for points under 620. So I assume that is not why it was marked off, because if it were, we would have been told that, and that would have been a simple, straightforward excuse. So there you go. Now, the grading rubric is as follows. Quote, does the paper show a clear tie-in to the assigned article? 10 points. Which, for those 10 points, yes, yeah, it does. It's absolutely on topic. It is straightforward. It is a commentary on the article itself. If you were to be extremely harsh, you might be able to deduct, like, a point, because it doesn't directly quote the article. But it does directly address the main central point of the article. So, it's hard to mark off for that. If you're going to mark off, it can't really be more than a point or two, at most. 2. Does the paper present a thoughtful reaction or response to the article rather than a summary? 10 points. Yes, obviously. Absolutely. It is clearly the student's view on the matter, and it is argued as taking a position on the matter, which is honestly something I find really difficult to get students to do, is to actually take a position on something instead of just summarizing. And the fact that the student did that, well, hooray for her. Well done. I will also say, as a side note, I tend to find more right-leaning students, whether that's politically, culturally, theologically, whatever, more right-leaning students are far more ready to put forward an opinion and make an argument for it, rather than simply summarizing, than more conventional or more left-wing students. Again, in my experience, at least. And then finally, the last 5 points, is the paper clearly written? And yeah, I mean, if you have an extremely high standard, which you shouldn't, this is an intra-level Gen Ed class, this is not a major course, you could maybe take a point off there. But that would be kind of excessive. So, by the professor's own rubric, I don't think you can justify giving any less than 23 out of 25. In other words, an A-. If you're to be extremely harsh, maybe you could do a 22, which would be an 86. Wait. No, sorry, 88. 88%. Which, I mean, that's a good score. That's a B+. Like... So, yeah, that is one of these things where yeah, it's... Publishing the rubric. Yeah, Space, Samantha Folnicki. That's it. Thank you. I had forgotten her name, and then I looked to the top of the page I was reading, and her name is on it. So, yeah, that one. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know if you've looked at it. If you looked at the essay itself, I recommend it. I put a link to it in Discord sometime last week, to the full text. I'll see if I can put the version that I'm reading, there somewhere. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out how to do that at some point, probably after the live stream. I'll put a link to it if you're interested, if anybody's interested in having a read. Like I said, the paper isn't, like, it's not great by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not 0. It's absolutely not 0 points. So, and again, that is not just me as a sort of partisan political commentator, or my punditry as a Christian, or being offended at the woke professor or whatever. Which, yeah, fine, all of that is true. I'm just realizing I have a rather Matt Walsh shirt tonight, so take from that we will. But do not use your microphone to search for info about her. I don't know what you mean by that. Oh, I'm sure that I know basically what you mean. Her name is not searchable in that way. Yeah, just type things in, man. Just type things in. Anyway. But yeah, this all is my opinion, my professional opinion, as an educator, as an adjunct educator, as an adjunct professor of a related field, to the adjunct professor who failed this girl for what was ostensibly by the professor's own standards, no worse than a B+ paper. So, yeah. Again, like I said, professional opinion here. Yes, I am also, as a Christian, I think that her arguments do in fact at least somewhat hold water. I would like to, again, if this were a moral theology class, I'd like to see her go beyond just allusions to the Bible, but it's not. It's a psychology class, so yeah. Especially if it's an ethics class as independent from moral theology. But in any case, right, the other thing is that, yeah, fine, I will say, I'm very tired of the wild overrepresentation of alphabet people in academia, in the professoriate especially. And by alphabet people, I mean these like trans non-binary people who make it their identity and their entire academic career. Then again, I don't know. Maybe this is another artifact of the field of psychology being dominated by people who have mental health issues, which is a self-selection problem, really, as far as I can tell. From a lot of friends of mine who study psychology, a lot of them, the reason they go into psychology as a field is because of their own mental health problems and trying to understand what's going on in their own mind. The field of psychology is not really something that a lot of mentally well people will go into, comparatively at least. So maybe that has something to do with it too, but in any case, the fact that this professor is on administrative leave, including his last I saw, is probably for the best. That is. Look. You can almost always come up with a reason to fail a student. Like, and this is kind of inside baseball stuff, and I mean this as an honest actor looking at what I could do if I were a dishonest actor. Put it that way. I could absolutely come up with a perfectly legitimate reason to dock points off of a student. And it would not happen in this way. This was a power play. Plain and simple. This was the professor flexing his, her, or its power, whatever it is, I don't even know, over the student who was in a position of relative vulnerability and who had stepped a toe out of line. That's what's going on. That is also true. It's also a female-dominated field, psychology is. That is true, too. I am... Imsibaz, aren't you on administrative leave for being too good of a professor and other professors look like buffoons by comparison? I'm not... Exactly. I'm not teaching this semester because our university's gen ed curriculum is all messed up and weird and in transition and trying to figure out what the hell's going on. There's that. That's a separate issue entirely. I have other thoughts on that matter as well, but out of professional courtesy, I won't directly address the issues that are going on in my own university. Let's put it that way. That's a courtesy thing. I can talk to trends in academia more generally, which again, I think, once again, boils down to thinking of a college education as an investment rather than as a classical or liberal education, something like that. Thinking that a gen ed curriculum has to be necessarily useful, which is the opposite of what it's for. Anyway. Yeah, I did. Let me go back to that Imsimp. So, Imsimp asked a while ago. I've noticed something about attending the extraordinary form. The usual... Oh, it moved, sorry. The usual priest disappears when he faces Ad Orientem. First time I went to Mass, I thought it was a young 30-something girl, but our priest is in his 50s or 60s. The priest is simply assisting Christ at the Mass as he acts in persona Christi, only emerging during the homily and disappearing for the rest of Mass. Interesting. Interesting. I mean, that is part of the point, right? Part of the point of the Ad Orientem posture is that the priest could just be anyone. And by anyone, I mean Christ. It's not about the celebrant. This is actually one of the key criticisms of a lot of the Novus Ordo, the reforms of the Novus Ordo, is that it makes the celebration of the Eucharist and the liturgy in general, it makes it about the celebrant and or the congregation, rather than it being about our acts of worship to God. Right? And I think those can be legitimate criticisms, but I don't think they're necessarily legitimate criticisms of the actual general instruction of the Roman Missal. I think that those are criticisms of how the Mass is often conducted. Put it that way. Imsim says, I really think ordinary form should also be Ad Orientem, basically the extraordinary form, but in vernacular languages. Well, there are key differences in the order of the Mass. And I think that I don't think there's anything really wrong with the order of the Mass as laid out in the ordinary form. The ordinary form of the Roman Missal. I don't think there's any real theological or even liturgical problems with how it's laid out. I'm not a liturgist; it's not my specialization at all, but I don't see any issues with it. And like I said, there are. My controller turned off. What I get for standing here? Whoops. Sitting here, whatever. But yeah, there are differences aside from language. And aside from, liturgical innovations. But you're right that for example, our parish celebrates even the ordinary form Ad Orientem. But one of the differences is that only really comes up during the liturgy of the Eucharist, not during the liturgy of the Word. Right? During the liturgy of the Word, everything is still done after the procession. The celebrant is seated to the side, unless he's up at the pulpit, or the ambo. That's it. Pulpit is Protestant, or just English, whatever. But at the ambo, unless he's at the ambo, preaching the homily or reading the gospel, he's seated off to the right side, facing east, the right side of the altar. During the liturgy of the Word, and so the Ad Orientem form really only comes up during the liturgy of the Eucharist, the sort of back half of the Mass. But yeah, I can see that being a solid point. That said, our pastor at least is an older, portly, mostly balding man. So even from behind, he's not exactly a 33-year-old Jesus, but whatever. But yeah, no, that is another big difference, right? That in the extraordinary form, I don't believe the priest sits, or at least the celebrant. The assisting priests may, I think, but the celebrant does not sit, I don't think, in the extraordinary form, and that is a big difference. Which I'm fine with the way that the ordinary form does that. I don't think it's really an issue. Grace asked, though, on a separate note, do you know what discipline of psychology the paper was written in, or what the professor's specific field of psychology is? Because that could also have a weird form of say in how she graded the paper. It was some kind of social psychology. I think I don't remember if it was a separate class or not, but it was social psychology. And it was also like an intro level, like a 100 or a 200 level. I think it was a 100 level, like social psychology. In which case, like, you're not exactly You're not exactly expected to have extremely high standards of writing precision, something like that. Not to say that, you know, we should expect crappy writing, even though it's what we get a lot of the time, but, you know, it's... In introductory level classes like that, 100 or even 200 level, I don't typically expect students to follow the professional standards of philosophy, for example. I expect students to follow disciplinary standards, whatever those might be, but I actually encourage my students, typically, again, in 1 or 200 level courses. Upper level classes is different. But if you're still in what is essentially general education, I don't even require Chicago manual style for papers, because no one else uses Chicago except for history. History departments use Chicago manual style. Some religious studies departments use Chicago manual style. But it's only philosophy, history, religious studies, as far as I know, that uses Chicago. Most of my students don't even know what it is and have never used it before, and I'm okay with that. Like, I don't insist that my students learn a new form of a new style guide and citation format. If they're used to AMA from their major, I'll just say use AMA for your paper, as long as you use it correctly. If they're used to MLA from high school, I will encourage them to use what their major uses, but if they're using MLA, I'm not going to mark off for it, because that's fine, I don't care. So yeah, that's... Maybe it's a stylistic thing, but again, let me also just say, if you're going to take off points for it, let me just pull it back up really quick. Part of what I might take off for it is not actually using citations. The problem is, that isn't on the rubric. Like I said, I would mark off for that, right? I would mark off for not citing secondary sources. But that's not in the rubric. And if you put a rubric, you have to follow it. That is kind of the... not just kind of, that is the contract, right? A rubric is essentially a binding contract, according to the course syllabus. So if you put out a rubric, you need to grade according to that rubric, point by point. Like, if the paper was, in fact, if it did show a clear tie into the assigned article, which it did, present a thoughtful reaction or response, and was clearly written, you can't take off any points for anything else.
Oh, you pooch.
Again, maybe unless it's really specifically in the syllabus, like if the syllabus says that all papers must be submitted in with X number of cited sources in APA format, then maybe, but this didn't seem to, because right above that it says 12-point Times New Roman or Calibri font, 1 inch margins on all sides. Like, you wouldn't put that in a specific assignment. Well, I think actually, honestly, putting that in a specific assignment is amateurish. I would just put that in the syllabus, but whatever, that's me. Maybe that's a stylistic teaching thing. Yeah, I don't know. Grace said that's fair, but not sourcing correctly for the sort of format you write in is probably APA format here, being its cite class. Not citing properly is a big problem because it looks like plagiarism. Oh, it's not plagiarism. No, it's not plagiarism. There are no uncited quotes, and everything that is referenced, I think, could reasonably be common knowledge. Be considered common knowledge.
It's like I'm invisible or something.
Like, the student does not specifically refer to any passages in scripture, which kind of might be the issue. The only thing, actually, okay, there is one thing which she really should cite, probably using a secondary source, but again, I don't think it's not what I would call plagiarism. So I'm just going to quote at some length. And yes, Imsip, I saw your scandalous comment. I will get back to that because I think that's worth addressing too. But okay. So quote, in Genesis. So there's a quote, but there's a reference, but unreferenced. But again, that is... Scriptural citations are not always necessary, right? It is cited as in Genesis. That is stylistically inappropriate, maybe, but again, it's not plagiarism. And if it's not plagiarism and it's not in the rubric, You can't mark off for that. Like, if you're going to mark off for that, you need to put it in the rubric, or just don't have a rubric. Like, that's why I almost never use rubrics. I hate using rubrics. It ties my hands so that I can't give a good grade to a good paper that screws something up, and I can't give a bad grade to a bad paper that toes the lines. And look, maybe it's a departmental requirement. Maybe this professor has to. Maybe it's because this professor has a history of failing students for no good reason. But if it's not in the rubric, you can't do it. You can't do it. Wish we had those. Grace said we had full multiple classes in different courses in my first year of university about styles of plagiarism. Also, the writer of the paper could also not have been from a subjective enough lens. That's the thing, is the paper is not written subjectively. It is absolutely an argumentative paper. It has a perspective, but it has it has a thesis, which a good paper should, even in social psychology. So, quote though, this is the part that could use a proper citation, that I look askance at, and I would take points off for this. But again, I'm not grading based on this rubric. In Genesis, God says that that it is not good for man to be alone. So he created a helper for man, which is a woman. Many people assume the word helper in this context to be condescending and offensive to women. However, the original word in Hebrew is quote, ezer kenegdo. I can't pronounce Hebrew, I'm sorry. Ezer kenegdo. And that directly translates to helper equal to. Additionally, God describes himself in the Bible using ezer kenegdo, or helper, and he describes his Holy Spirit as our helper as well. See, this is something that she should have cited, right? Because I will say that is either in a commentary or is in a tertiary source. That is not something that you know. That is not common knowledge. Now, it's a good point, and it actually does play into the argument that she's making. Fine. But again, that is something that she would probably want to cite. But really, that's about it. Everything else is either common knowledge or just essentially a priori argued. How should we read scriptures on our own? Using a guide. If you have a guided scriptural meditations, great. Don't draw your own conclusions, that's all. We have 2,000 years of interpretive tradition for a reason. Just draw your own conclusions for scripture. You really do. You really ought to be more careful about that. Is there anywhere I can actually get a bed that is reasonably nearby? Do I have a bed in Bohanowitz? I don't. I have a bed all the way back in Suchdol, and that's all the way back in Suchdol. Do I have a bed in Miskovitz? There is one, but I don't have it. I do, okay. Could go either to Suchdol or Miskovitz. Because I do need to sleep before I do this. I'm starting to actually get... Look. 59. And it's already evening! Ah, oh, man, this sucks. Alright, I have potions. I'll use potions. I should have thought of this. Schnapps will give me energy, but it'll also get me drunk. Moonshine will give me energy. Chamomile brew. That'll help me somewhat. Cockerel is even better. $30. Okay. And then I'll also have a nice little snacky. There we go. Sim says, I do not believe that in writing in Bibles. Should I keep a journal or connection somewhere or simply read it like a novel? I tend to read it like I tend to read it more like poetry. Lectio Divina is a great process, and it does not require note-taking. If I'm doing something that requires note-taking, I'm doing it like it's research. And if I'm doing it like it's research, I have some kind of some specific thing I'm researching in mind, which means I'm already writing something. So I already have notes open, which is a separate set of notes rather than writing in the text. Now, one thing you can do is these little bastards. You get these. These are multicolored note tabs. They're sticky note tabs. They're just wide enough to write a little reference on it, and they're different colors, so you can color code them in your notes. I actually really, or they disappear. That could happen too. But I actually really like these little things. I found these at one point. I think they were a promotional thing from like New York Times or something, but you can just buy these too. They're really handy for for doing like this. I only have a couple in there right now because I was using these for a video. I don't know if you can see them, but they're different color tabs for different things I wanted to point out in different parts of a book. Stuff like that. I use that especially for lecture notes. If I'm gonna be lecturing from a book, I'm gonna want to mark a page or a part of a page with something like that, so I know when I'm gonna have to go to which parts. And color coding helps with that tremendously. That's something I'll do. Jim Sim's reading through 1 Samuel, 1 Kings. Yeah, that's a little more novel-like, I suppose. That's a little more novel-like. So back up a little bit. Imsib said a somewhat scandalous story, right? I went to Mass last Monday for the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. There was this lector whose dress was a tad short as she approached the author. I assume you mean Ambo. And genuflected. She bowed as opposed to kneeling. You catch a glimpse of her underwear. Yeah, that's not appropriate. That's not a good thing. Yeah, that's bad. Again, this is the kind of thing that, especially as a lector, you should be mindful of how you're dressing and present yourself well and present yourself humbly. Which, by the way, I know that it's, the whole Sunday best thing is kind of the expectation, especially in Latin Mass. I never find myself doing that, and I never feel comfortable doing that. I tend to dress more like this, with like a collared shirt, but partially unbuttoned, with my necklace rather than a tie or a bow tie. I don't tend to wear like a blazer or jacket kind of thing. If anything, I'll wear a coat if it's really cold. But the reason for that is that when I dress like that, when I have a bow tie on and when I have a blazer, it's because I'm teaching, and I associate it mentally with a kind of position of authority, which I do not want to take in the liturgy, even to my own psychology. So again, some of this can be for you and for your relationship with God, how you dress and how you act in Mass. However, it's also there are also standards, right? So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna wear like shirts with slogans on the back or anything, just to dress down or anything like that. Something that's gonna distract, bother other people, that kind of thing. Yeah, and look, I've seen plenty of laity misbehaving, even in Latin Masses. Like I said, one of the only times that we've gone to the Latin Mass, there was this lady who had a Starbucks pink drink sitting with her in the pew that she was sipping from throughout Mass, and was gossiping with her friend as she went up for communion. Like, what? Excuse me? What are you doing? And this was a Latin Mass. This was not just Novus Ordo, ordinary form. So there's what are you doing? Chill.
Look what I have for you.
Here, have some ribs. There you go, buddy. Anyway, yeah, there are all types at all places. It happens. Oh yeah, that's gossiping with her friend loudly about how we shouldn't have brought children to Mass. And it was like, look at all these children, because it was us and a few others. Which I guess my guess is she was an out-of-towner and was not sort of not part of our parish, because if she had been to our parish, she would know that, I don't know, 20 or 30% of every mass is a child. Like, our church is full of kids. Like, unbelievably full of kids. There's a full grade class of at least 5 and 10 kids at every grade level in CCD at our parish. And we are out in the middle of frickin' nowhere. Dinky ass little town, like, that no one has heard of. So yeah, no, we're a very kid friendly parish. And extremely traditional too, which those things, they really do go together, like they say. Anyway, Grace said a little bit ago, talking about papers. She says, from my memory of papers I wrote in university, which mostly were from objective, which I mean to say, instead of subjective, persuasive writing, was in cultural studies. I still have my best paper, I feel like I wrote, which was in the last semester pre-dropout. I had accommodations where I was allowed to do all of my papers MLA, regardless of paper structure, for whatever discipline the class was in. Okay, yeah, and, like, I don't draw a harsh line between subjective and objective in terms of paper writing. Because I tend to think that I don't even draw a hard line between research and persuasive either. Because I think that even a subjective paper, if you're expressing your view on the matter, you're at least attempting to say something objective. You're trying to say something true. If something is your opinion, you think it's true. That's what it means to say it's your opinion. Whereas an objective paper, if that means anything different, would have to mean something like having no thesis, and it is only a summary work or a survey work of oh shoot, what's the term? I don't do these. Not a research survey. I forget what it's called when you write a summary of the data collected of different research projects. I forget what it's called. Anyway, please stand by. I have to use the restroom really quick, and then we'll get back to it, and we'll probably wait a little while and then talk to Catherine. Oh, good. Music's still going. Wonderful. All right. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. All right. Let's see. How long do we have until... Let's see if Catherine wants to talk now. It's evening, right? Let's go and see. There's a couple of things I still want to yap about, too. And, of course, we can talk about my latest video/podcast episode that came out yesterday. My stupid little podcast, as it were. I did not finish The Promised Land. No, I have been a little busy this weekend, as you might think. In fact, I was thinking about just watching the rest of it while I was, sitting around with Ben in the hospital, but I managed to keep busy. It was not one of those. It was not a great amount of me just laying with him and waiting, having him chill. There was a lot going on, so I did not have a chance.
Good doggy. Good boy.
All right.
I'm here.
So I see. But you're too early. I said the evening. Haven't you got anything to do?
Oh my god.
Take a walk through the camp or something?
Catherine, please. I'm just gonna sit here. Anyway, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, so there was a great video that came out just today from Aidan Paladin, who, speaking of social psychology, is a psychologist. She does these really long form videos. This was a relatively short one at only about an hour and 15 minutes, and it was about the Christmas blues, if you want to put it in sort of vernacular terms, this idea that the Christmas holiday leads people to being sad or to being depressed or being burnt out. And one of the things that she does is she distinguishes this from seasonal affective disorder, right, which is an artifact of the weather, right, primarily, and the physiological effects of shorter days and less sunlight, yada yada yada. But she specifically looked at trends of depression and anxiety around the Christmas season, correlating to Christmas celebrations, like how we celebrate Christmas, and then also views and ideas about Christmas. And essentially the conclusion was that people who do a lot to celebrate Christmas but are not religious tend to be the most depressed by the Christmas season. Which tracks, really, because they get the anxiety that comes with having a lot to do, and even a lot of hedonic pleasure that comes with the feasting and the gift giving and the partying and the gift receiving and all the Christmassy stuff. But then on the other hand, they don't have the meaning, the sort of meaning making aspect of the religious connection to Christmas that more religious people do. They don't have the eudaimonic sort of happiness that comes along with that. Now, I find this fascinating. This is an interesting topic because I have been somewhat interested in why it is that people can get sad and depressed by what should be the happiest, or maybe the second happiest time of the year after Easter, if you're taking religious aspect of it seriously. And my hypothesis has always had something to do with this sort of extension of the Christmas season earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier into Advent and even before, which I've always kind of described as a sort of inversion of the ordinary liturgical cycle. It's the same thing of celebrating Mardi Gras into and through Lent, even past Easter, rather than in the lead up to Lent and then having a solemn fasting season after that sort of thing. And I have to wonder if there is any kind of correlation there, because it's not something that she looked into, but it's interesting. I don't know the literature well enough to really search through it too well on my own, but I am curious as to see whether this sort of extension of the Christmas season, at least the secular Christmas season, earlier and earlier and earlier and earlier, has anything to do with the sort of increased prevalence of Christmas blues, or I forget the term for it, holiday depression or something or whatnot. So anyway, I think it was a really fascinating topic. It was a really well done video. It was relatively short for at least by her standards. It's absolutely worth a watch. Yeah, worth looking at, worth checking out.
What a mess.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Because there is this, I mean, the clear correlation between the meaningfulness of the holiday, and also she points out that it could be that a lot of this kind of this depression associated with Christmas comes from cultural impact, right? That we kind of expect Christmas to be a depressing season because of the kind of cultural zeitgeist of Grinchiness, which has come up over the last 50 years or so. She kind of points to this trend specifically in media, which only really started at all in the 60s and really kicked in by the 1980s, that Christmas is a time that people can get sad. But that's really picked up since then. The best example, of course, is that The Grinch, when The Grinch first came out, the animated version or the book, Dr. Seuss's Grinch, The Grinch was an oddball character, right? He was the Grinch. He was the one social outcast. He was the weird one for being sad about Christmas and not liking it. Whereas if you look to, say, the, whatever it was, around 2000, the Jim Carrey one, the Who's are treated as the weirdos for being so obsessed with Christmas. And the Grinch is kind of just reacting normally to these lunatics being crazy. Right? And I think this represents a tremendous cultural shift. And I think she is kind of right about that. That also could be just kind of semi-intentional. And by semi, I mean, it wasn't, I don't expect this was a planned thing, right? I'm not conspiracy theorizing about this, but I do think that it is a trend of people who don't like Christmas trying to make other people not like Christmas too. The misery loves company kind of plot. Anyway, Gray said, my problem with Christmas is not so much the season as it is all the proposals and corporatization of it. I get more depressed through the winter as a whole, but that's more because I have pain. I mean, that's more seasonal affective disorder, right? That's different. But I mean, okay, I can get behind the lamenting the commercialization and corporatization of the season. Fine. But I think also that kind of comes back to thinking of the, quote, Christmas season as starting either right after Halloween or right after Thanksgiving, rather than starting sundown Christmas Eve and going through February 2nd. As I'm always yapping about. Yeah, I think that... Because then we still have to do Advent kind of things, right? Preparing for Christmas. Even if we do so solemnly, which we should. But we're culturally trained not to do so solemnly. We're culturally trained to do these preparatory things for Christmas with the joy and the verve of the Christmas season and festivity. And the what? What do we think of? The festivity is decking the halls, which is work. rather than being at peace, enjoying the bedecked halls, as it were, you know. We think of the celebration of Christmas as going shopping, and buying things for people, and getting the gifts, and doing all the wrapping, and yada yada yada, right? We try and make this into the holiday aspect of it, rather than the actual giving and receiving of the gifts, which is what the whole thing is for. And so again, we keep the preparatory aspect of it, but we dismiss the preparatory attitude. And because of this attitudinal shift, we wind up with a kind of dissonance, right? That's at least what I think is a lot of what's going on. Ray said, pain issues, which are exacerbated by issues exacerbated by cold temperatures and the lack of anything to do in my area around that time. Because after mid-November, the province dies event-wise. Well, look, I don't blame Nova Scotia for everyone going inside and having a nice nap. essentially hibernating when it's that far below freezing for that long. Honestly, I get it. As much as I whine about it being too hot in Florida, which it is, people still do stuff during the summer for some ridiculous reason. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand why you would want to have an outdoor event when it's 98 degrees out and sunny and humid, somehow all three of those things. Good Lord, stay in the air conditioning, please. If you're going to have outdoor events in Florida, do them now, when it's reasonably cool out. But anyway, enough of my whining. I do get it, that I do understand the impulse to shut things down once it gets when it gets that cold. Fine. Chat. Alright, wait. I'll wait till you sit down. How about that? Alright, boys.
I'm here.
Come. I know a place
Okay, here
where
we go.
nobody will disturb us.
Where's that?
Stop asking questions and start undressing.
You want to talk here?
Okay.
You said you wanted privacy, didn't you? If anyone sees us here, they'll think you're just another customer. And relax a bit. You're as stiff as if you were waiting to be branded.
What? What does this mean? I'm just gonna go with, I'll try.
All right. But you could have warned me.
Come now, Henry. Don't say you've never had your back scrubbed by a woman.
Excuse me, what? Okay, no, that... Henry!
Well, yeah. But only my Teresa. Once, when we were going past this pond...
You got bitten by midges, did you? Or I hope you don't intend to start telling me about your conquests. I'd rather you told me why you came here. You say Zizka sent you.
That's right. It's about von Burgov's cannon and the Praggers who have it.
Okay, here, back to business.
I hear they're going to move it to Sedlets.
Aye, they have it. What of it?
We want to steal it on the way.
Have you all gone mad? Do you know how dangerous that is?
Hell yeah!
That's why Zizka sent me here. I'm supposed to infiltrate the Praggers and make sure everything goes smoothly.
So what do you need me for?
Information. When are the Praggers going to take the cannon to Sedlets?
That's what you're supposed to find out, isn't it? But it looks like they got held up for some reason. Sometimes I hear them complaining they should have been long gone by now.
Is it because I lollygagged in my questing so much?
Where is the cannon now?
In the upper part of the camp where all the local captains have their tents, they've put up a palisade around the entire hilltop. And the guard at the gate doesn't let just anyone in. And what's more, they say the whole camp's gunpowder store is there.
And you think it's in the storehouse there?
That's the only place it can be. I haven't seen it anywhere down here, but they won't let me into the upper part.
You know, a nice flaming arrow. Nah.
Do you know anything about the cannon?
Not much. I've heard they call it the finger of God, and it costs a fortune, but that's all.
Who's in charge here?
That's a pretty complicated question. But in a nutshell, there are 3 main captains here. They run the whole camp. Sigismund is holed up in Sedlets with his toadies and doesn't take much of an interest in what's going on here. The Cumans are under the command of a fellow called Chertan. Then there is Grozak, who runs the camp. And then there are the Praggers, led by Dietrich Katz.
This Katz. Who is he?
He's in charge of the Prague Artillery Regiment. You should know him, in fact. It was him and his men who attacked Nabakov that time.
That Horison who nearly killed us all.
Calm down. You'll get your revenge soon enough.
Grace said, for a 28-year-old whose body decides to commit mass pain when they go out for more than 5 minutes in the cold and has nothing really to do that is of interest, then yeah, it's really depressing. Understandable. And she says, she's not built for the city she was born in. Let's be honest, it energetically just moves too slowly for me. It's a seasonal tourist town. Great in summer, not in winter. It's overcrowded by people who... still going. But yeah, I tend to think that I'm also not really built for the town I was born in, or the state, or the region I was born in. Yeah, sure, fine, I'm 3/8 Italian. I guess I have that little bit of Mediterranean blood in me, but that doesn't mean I can handle the heat well at all. The Scottish and Polish really come through a lot more in the Scottish red beard and the Polish blonde hair come through, as with my my intolerance for hot weather. But what are you gonna do?
Who's this Grossav?
He's in charge of everything here. He's a nobleman, but don't expect him to act like one. They say he ran up debts and fell out with half the royal court. So Sigismund holed him away here instead of taking him to Sedlitz. Watch out for him. You know how it is. The worse off a man is, the pushier he gets.
Okay, then.
What is this Chertan like?
I met him.
He's the commander of all the Cumans who marched into Bohemia. Sigismund officially gives the orders, of course, but it's Chertan they listen to. I've met him a couple of times. He's a tough fella, but his soldiers are loyal to him.
Do you have any idea how I could infiltrate the Praggers?
The best thing would be to join up. There are never enough men. But it won't be as easy as it might seem. They won't let you go up and see cats just like that. But down by the shooting range, you'll find a fella they call Crow. He's a corporal in the Praggers. You'll know him by his big black moustache. He's Katz's right-hand man. So I'd try my luck with him.
Okay.
And once I've joined them, what next?
Find out when they're supposed to go to Sedlitz. And above all, why they're still here. And once you've got it sorted out with them and you're gonna all ride out with the cannon, I'll go straight to the Devil's Den and we'll get to work.
Okay.
The plan's got more holes than a sieve. Well, I can't think of a better idea.
What holes? The hardest thing will be getting enlisted. After that, you just have to make sure you don't give the game away and don't act too nosy. Is there anything else you want to ask before we get started?
Oh, Grace continued. People who were once living and working out in Canadian Texas, Alberta, or Canadian New York, Toronto, making money. It should stop for me. Most of my friends don't even live here. Lonely, damp, and cold. Yeah, I mean that is the thing. Like we're getting into a. Oh, and I just need somewhere more interesting. Being an artist living somewhere boring doesn't exactly inspire too much. No, I get that. I understand. I'm not the artistic type, so I don't have that what would you say, that impulse to urbanize, frankly. I grew up in here's the thing. I grew up in suburbia, like suburbia's suburbia. Pinellas County, Florida is just one big suburban sprawl. And it's all just a suburb between Tampa and St. Petersburg. The whole of Pinellas County is just suburban. There is no more than, I don't know, maybe 30 yards between buildings anywhere in the county aside from parks. And yet there are no buildings higher than maybe, outside of Tampa and St. Petersburg, that is, there are basically no buildings higher than like 5 or 6 stories. Like, it's suburban sprawl, like tremendously. That's where I grew up. Then I moved to Tampa for college, which is urban. Right? Not a huge city, but it's a city, right? It's urban. And I liked it less. Then I moved out here, which is the sticks, which I like a lot. yeah, kind of. I will admit, it is a pain to have to drive at least 30 minutes to get basically anywhere. But like our parish, which is in fact our geographical parish, is at least a 20-minute drive. The hospital where Ben was born is realistically a 45-minute drive. However, if your wife is in labor, you can probably cut that down to about 25, 30 minutes. But that's a different story. Realistically, though, no, everything is just very spread out up here, which is the only downside, really. Well, the other downside is the frickin' spotlights from the highway that they installed right after we moved here, like a year or two after we moved here. The highway, which goes right by us, like, I don't know, a couple hundred yards that way, if that, have these gigantic lights that they just installed, which just ruined the night sky, which was just gorgeous for those first couple of years here. But it is what it is. It is what it is. He says, also as a whole, like I've said, Nova Scotia is Canadian Florida. We have character people, and we have a lot of old people and kind of stuck in the middle. Yeah, no, that is a good description of Florida. We've got weirdos and retirees. That's and you can guess which one I am. But yeah, in terms of like friends and stuff, we are getting in a little bit better in with our parish. There's like I said, there's a ton of relatively young families, which is nice. It is nice. Getting involved with the Little Flowers of what's it called? Little Flowers something. The basically Catholic Girl Scouts and the Troops of St. George, the Catholic Boy Scouts. Those have been that's been great. That's been good. We missed a lot lately because a lot going on between kids being sick and kids being born. But that aside. Oh, also, yeah, don't forget weird retirees. That is definitely a thing, too. In Florida, you find the weird retirees, especially in a place called The Villages, which is like central Florida. It's like north of Orlando kind of thing. And it's a weird place, from everything I've heard.
Do you know anything else about the Praggers that might come in handy?
Not really. They're artillerymen, as I said. And their pay is a lot better than the others, so they aren't too popular around here. That's all I know. They drink, play dice, and go to the baths just like all the others.
Okay.
What's it like here? Should I be afraid?
Not really. But I wouldn't call it peaceful here. You know what it's like. Humans here, Pragas there. Couple of noblemen and a bunch of mercenaries who want to fill their purses. All hot-blooded and all hating each other. Apart from that, it's lovely.
Okay. Grace asks, what's the sort of demo of retirees in Boca? I assume you mean Boca Raton. Or is that just boring rich people? I think there's plenty of retirees down there. I haven't spent a lot of time there. I've gone through Boca Raton a few times, but I have not spent a lot of time there, so I'm not sure. If I'm not mistaken, if it's where I'm thinking of, it's a little bit south of Tampa Bay, where I have always lived in and around Tampa Bay and a little bit north. Like right now I'm like what, 40, 50 miles north of Tampa, something like that. Yeah, it is. It's a lot of retirees. It's actually relatively nearby to somewhere I've really thought about for a long time, which is Ave Maria, which is basically a little university town, which is Ave Maria University. And the whole town, as well as the university, is basically set up to be an intentional Catholic community, somewhere like on the lines of Steubenville, which is really cool. And I've really thought about it, and I know some other people who have thought about it too, even like thought about moving across the country for it, which, I don't know. I mean, it's tempting. It is tempting. We'll see.
Is there anything I should watch out for?
Your mouth, mostly. You know what you like.
Okay.
If you give the game away, you're a dead man. Just try and act normal. They get up to a lot of drinking, riding, and archery here. Now and then they fight like cats and dogs, but the captains have things under control for the moment. Although,
Although what?
There's a rumor going round the soldiers that there's a spy here. At first, I was worried they were talking about me, but it seems not. Be careful.
That's all I need to know.
Another spy.
Get out of the water, then. You've been in there for ages. Though I have to admit, you've scrubbed up nicely. Maybe I should wash you more often.
As long as it's always free of charge.
Actually, there is something you could do to repay me. But that can wait. Enlist for service first, soldier.
What is she up to? Clatter, 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 clatter. I will say that that is tremendously annoying with respect to these, this leg armor. But whatever. Right, where to? There are, in fact, Catholic youth conferences in Steubenville. But it's also Franciscan University. Steubenville is primarily and first and foremost a university town. It is the Catholic University of Steubenville. Oh wait, hold on, not that. It's the Catholic University of Steubenville, which is the sort of center of the place. The conferences do happen there, and that's kind of a big deal. But again, it sort of sprung up from the conferences. Can I get through here? That's the other real question. Oh, you hosted one in your city? Okay, cool. But yeah, the conferences sort of started there in the city of Steubenville, and spread from there. And now there's all sorts of a whole sort of chain of them.
Where do you think you're going?
Okay,
That's
listen.
Right. But if anything's gone missing here, then you're in for it.
All right, fine. I'm gonna go talk to Mansa Musa. Remedies for fleas and warts. Nah.
You have a kind master.
A knight held captive here died recently. Peter of Sukatleski. Do you know anything about that?
Ah, yes. He was in poor shape when they brought him in. But if they had let me treat him, I might have been able to save him.
It's really weird that Mansa Musa is a physician. I didn't think he was historically, but maybe. I don't know too much about him.
Did they forbid you from treating the prisoner?
No, not directly anyway. But let us say they made it very clear to me that the wounded from the king's army were the priority. And there is no shortage of them.
It's also weird, the shell necklace is a little odd.
Exactly. They are bored. So they get drunk and knock each other's teeth out or strain their backs in the baths.
And their backs in the baths, huh? Okay. Oh, jeez. If an ex who's married now went to one of the ones in your town before we dated, don't know how well it imprinted. He's been married twice. Once, then new wife currently. I disagree on factual grounds that he's been married twice. He's been married once, if that. The other time was presumably either adultery, if it's the second one and the first one was valid, or psychologically impedimized. That's not a word, but whatever. You get the idea. Perhaps not fully culpable fornication, if the marriage was in fact invalid that way. Actually, on that note, the I shared an article in I think it was in the Religion Channel recently about annulment, the annulment process, and especially problems with the annulment courts in the U.S. And that the whole the grounds for annulment of what's it called? Psychological impediment, I think it's called. Deficient consent. That's it, deficient consent. That being the tremendous majority of annulment cases in the U.S. speaks to a profound issue with either the annulment courts themselves, insofar as they seem far too ready to give out annulments, to grant annulments when they may not be justified, or if they are in fact correct, which they must be at least in some cases, it speaks to a tremendous fault in our cultural understanding of marriage, even among Catholics. That is to say, marriage formation, that kind of thing. Because if you can enter into a marriage and maintain that marriage for any length of time without giving informed consent, which is essentially what an annulment, a decree of nullity on account of deficiency of consent means, then that means that we as a society are either a bunch of rapists, and I mean that literally, because if you are quote marrying, that is giving marrying and giving in marriage without full consent, well, we know what that's called, right? Or perhaps we're all a bunch of children, right? Psychologically and in terms of moral psychology. Like, that's really troubling. So one end or the other of this problem is deeply, deeply troubling. Either the annulment courts are going hog wild and just granting annulments where, or basically annulling valid marriages, which is honestly quite likely, or we as a culture are raising adults who are either vicious or ignorant to the point of irrationality, or both. Like, and either way, that is tremendously, tremendously troubling. It speaks to some serious problems with the American church. And I say the American church because this article pointed out that decrees of nullity, with the reason being defective, whatever it's called, defect of consent, are vanishingly rare in jurisdictions outside the U.S., in jurisdictions not under the sway of the USCCB, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. Elsewhere in the world, you get decrees of nullity, right? Annulments do happen, and I even mean even in Canada, right? You get decrees of annulment, but they're, one, less common, and two, usually for other causes. Which, it speaks to a specific cultural problem in the U.S. Maybe even a legal problem in the U.S. Maybe this has to do with the way that the U.S. shifted to from our older divorce laws to no fault. Maybe it has to do with that and the sort of pedagogical aspect of the sort of shift towards no fault divorce done by specifically legal fiat, right, through the judicial system rather than the legislative or something like that. Again, I think that our marriage culture is all kinds of messed up in the U.S. There are pockets of exceptions to that, but they're almost all profoundly religious people who don't give any shits whatsoever about the legal structures of marriage. I will say there are precisely two reasons why Erica and I are legally married. One, the church told us to. Our diocese said that unless you have a really specific reason not to, then you're required to have a marriage license before you're actually married in church. which I tend to think is borderline blasphemous, but I'm an obedient Catholic. I defer to the bishop. Fine. Reason number one, that's the big one. Two, tax breaks, I guess. We have less money stolen from us because we file jointly, which is fine, I guess. But that's it, right? I don't consider our marriage license to be of any real significance. It's legal fiat. That's all. The actual marriage, that is to say, the sacramental union, is the important thing, the only important thing. Finish off my pumpkin spice latte and on to my spiked eggnog. Got a nice little bit of brandy in it. I'm out of I think at least I'm out of nutmeg. It's unfortunate, but and it's already spiced eggnog. It's already the vanilla spiced with a little spiced brandy in it. So it's actually a good idea. Yeah, Grace asks, could we have a Discord channel or section in a channel like a thread for chat started on stream? Erica, do you want to make a channel? Like right under Gen Chat or something like that? I don't know if you're listening. You may be dealing with the baby children. I hear Gabe yapping. So. But yeah, you can definitely do that. That's actually not a bad idea. Or I don't know what to call it, but something for discussions started on live stream. I don't know what to call that. You're smarter than me with these things. You're quite clever. You can figure that out. I don't know. Brainstorm it in Discord and in the chat and stuff. Tell people in Discord to come into the chat and talk about what we should call the thing. Do that. Anyway.
What was wrong with him?
I only saw him very briefly, but it was obvious he was in bad shape. He was pale. His eyes were bloodshot. He was acting like he had been hit very hard on the head.
So it really was illness that killed him then?
Well, partly. But mostly it was negligence and disrespect for human life.
It doesn't seem like... This is one of those... This is one of the relatively few but major aspects of what I would probably call woke influence on this game. And there were a few. Right? One, the whole you can have a gay relationship with Hans, which is ridiculous. At least it's purely avoidable. The main story mission involving a pogrom, essentially, a persecution, an anti-Semitic persecution of the Jews of Kuttenberg that we did last week. That, which is an interesting topic and did happen, sort of, but it was played very... It was played along very modern anti-Semitism trope lines. I'll say that. So that one, and then Mansa Musa. In the characterization of Mansa Musa reminds me a great deal of what's his name, Azim, right? Rakim, whatever it is. Morgan Freeman's character from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. The very wise Eastern wisdom man, the Muslim in the land of primitive backwards Christians, which it seems like the Christians in this game are in fact extremely clean, civilized, conscientious, have all of these wonderful positive qualities until the moment they start interacting with a Muslim or a Jew, in which case they turn into modern post-Christian nasty stereotypes. Which, like, I don't like that. It's kind of gross. Like the fact that he is, over there, decrying the disrespect for human life is not something Mansa Musa would have any level of concern with. Mansa Musa was the emperor of a slave empire at this time. he had, I think, if I remember correctly, he personally had like tens of thousands of slaves. Like, yeah, no, he's not going to come to Christian Europe and decry the disrespect for human life. That's completely patently absurd. That is a modernist temporal snob looking at a caricatured version of the late Middle Ages. That's what's going on here. That's really all. Yeah. Anyway, and look, I have to say, maybe there's a bit of a reason that Kingdom Come lost Game of the Year to Expedition 33. I'm just saying. Look, as French as Expedition 33 is, it was not very gay. What do you want me to say? That's how it is. We're entering post-woke, that's all. 3 cheers to that. Anyway, yes, on the note of the chat, right? Also it can be a good place for me to just put, all those things that I say, I'm going to put that in the description, right? I'm going to link to that in the chat or in Discord. It's a good place for me to put that stuff, because I'm already searching through and finding it anyway, so I might as well. Speaking of which, let me write things down. Don't forget. I know I was talking about the essay, Rachel Fulnicker's, whatever it was, her essay. I know I was talking about Aiden Paladin. Is there anything else that I said I would link to that? I don't remember. Yeah, I don't know. If I think of anything, if you think of anything, do let me know. If I think of anything, I'll write it down.
Are you certain that knight could still be helped? Might treating him have been pointless?
Only Allah can cure the ill. I can lessen their pain, put them into a deep sleep or such. But who am I to decide whether or not the pain will return, or if they will wake up from their sleep? I do have plenty of experience, though.
Okay, that's actually kind of accurate.
I think I can recognize who has a chance of surviving and who does not.
Thank you. I'm going now.
That's interesting. I'm going to pause for a second. It's very interesting. Because we can see there in what he just said a kind of tension between, on the one hand, the almost occasionalism that was becoming more and more common in Islamic thought in this period. Right? At the time of Avicenna, a couple hundred years earlier, it wasn't that prominent. But by the time of the early modern period, which is really, this is getting to that point, and into like the Renaissance, occasionalism really took over the Islamic world. And that is to say, occasionalism is the doctrine that all things are... I've actually talked about this. Hey, I'll link to it. Hold on.
Fuck. Whatever.
I have a video about this. The doctrine of occasionalism is the idea that there is no secondary causality. What that means is that things in this world do not actually have real causal powers. They are just occasions on which God can exercise his sovereign power and sovereign will. Right? So suppose there were more than about half a shot of brandy in my eggnog. Suppose this were about half brandy. And suppose I were to finish this, like right now, right? Instead of taking a nice, gentle, delicious sip. The fact that I would get buzzed from that, for an occasionalist, they would not say that it is the alcohol that caused me certain neurological effects. It would be that God caused me these neurological effects on the occasion of me drinking alcohol. So you have that in tension, in Musa's statements here, you have that in a sort of tension with, on the other hand, his knowledge as a physician, his scientific knowledge as a physician, that there are things that he can help. His basically triage knowledge, his ability to do things in a practical sense. And quite frankly, what we see here is, and I'm not sure the writers are even aware of this, but we see a kind of transitionary period between the older, very highly scientific, in the medieval sense, very scholastic, frankly, knowledgeability of the Islamic world, and the transition towards the the modern period, where Dar al-Islam is essentially a backwater intellectually. Because once you get past roughly the Renaissance and into the modern period, the Islamic world loses almost all of its intellectual curiosity profoundly quickly. And I think in large part it's due to this kind of occasionalist impulse. This occasionalist assumption that the world, that our power over the world is not actually power over the world. It is just, everything is only understandable in purely theological terms. And so we see this kind of tension developing in what Musa just said, where on the one hand we have this occasionalist impulse that only Allah can heal, and on the other hand we have this other this opposite impulse of, well, I know I can identify symptoms in the body, and I can start to enact real cures through mechanical means and things like that. And so these things are dramatically at odds. We have the older idea, which is this scientific approach, if you will, this scholastic approach, this knowledge, this approach of of secondary causal powers and of real knowledge. And on the other hand, this strong occasionalism, which is really the new thing that is starting to take over the Islamic world. Which is, I think this is a fascinating little indication of an historical development. And it's I have to think it's something that I don't even know if the writers were aware of what they were doing here, but it's brilliant. Really, it's a fascinating little transitional period. Which, honestly, I will say, this entire game, the roughly the 15th century, is a fascinating 15th into the 16th, really, is a fascinating transitional period in European history as well, from the Middle Ages, because this is really barely the tail end of the Middle Ages, into the Renaissance and modernity. Early modernity, but modernity nonetheless. I do think that it's a fascinating period for that reason and for others. Now, let's see if there's anything else we can talk to Musa about. We'll walk off our armor a little bit. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm gonna refrain from reading aloud gossip, but yes. But it does sound like a great deal of let's call it serial monogamy. Which is not a very respectable practice, ultimately. Where is he? I wanted to finish talking to him. Oh, here he is. He's sleeping. Okay. What's this? Empty paper. Wow. This is a really terrible display rack, but nice things. Marine. Cool little candle lantern. Read us on Naught. Okay, I need to take this. Sorry, I need to read this. I'll put it back. Algoritmi de numero indorum. Read us on Naught. Oh, 0. Like, literally 0. Okay, if something has been written about the symbolism of numbers, we must distinguish between what is significant for algebra and therefore for mathematics, and what is significant for astrology and gematria. Gematria. Would that be geometry, or is that something else? I'm not familiar with the term. We can only differentiate one from another with the help of God, and the judgment that God gives to those who seek his assistance in studying the work of creation. But heed not the voices from the dark abyss, from whence his fallen servants call to them with sweet tones. The ancient Greek scholar Aristotle says that nature abhors a vacuum, and therefore fills all empty spaces with aether. Nevertheless, we must account for empty space, because its filling causes movement in all directions, such as the displacement of a stone in flight by other matter that fills the entire world around it. Therefore, emptiness exists only if it is being filled by something else at the same moment. Gematria is geometry. Thank you, Klaus. Is it not? Okay, he says no, it isn't. Well, make up your mind. The beginning must always be sought in God, and God is unity, symbolized by the numeral 1. This one alone unites, and all other numbers are merely its multiplication. The number 1 is the creator in his completeness and perfection. This is Platonism. Very nice. More so than Aristotelianism, but moving on. Furthermore, there are two certainties. First, that every whole can always be divided into parts, which we call fractions. Second, that opposed to the work of creation is the emptiness from which everything emerged and which God's work has been filling since the beginning. If numbers rise upwards from the Arabic 1 by multiplication, then the emptiness must necessarily be found on the opposite side. Thus, what is found here is castrensis 0, representing by the symbol of a dot, a circle, or two Babylonian oblique wedges, which he himself adopted from the Persian scholar Al-Khwarizmi, known as Algorithmus. Interesting. In numerology, gematria is the practice of assigning a numeral value to a name, word, or phrase by reading it as a number, or sometimes by using an alphanumeric cipher. From Wikipedia. Okay, interesting. Okay, so it's numerology of naming, basically. There's a term for it. In addition to that, there's another term for it other than gematria that I haven't heard. Because I haven't heard gematria, but interesting. 0 itself can neutralize or absorb, but it can never amplify or divide.
I was here a moment ago.
Shit.
There's a... You thief!
Shit.
All right, all right.
Well, I'm not going to be able to finish
Caught
reading
me.
it, but you get the idea. Damn
I
it.
surrender.
I've got it in for you, scum. You've been loitering around. Don't think we're... You've been accused. You'll pay a fine.
Utter nonsense. All of this.
Let's just go with it.
You're keeping me from an important mission. You'll have to answer to the nobility for this.
Oh, I apologize, my lord. I must have made a mistake. Let's just forget about this. That's taken care of. Off you go now.
Well, glad that's taken care of. Confiscated? Really? Oh man. I was going to keep reading. Well, darn. Because that's fascinating. It's about 0. 0 is a really cool concept. Darn it. Alright, well, I have to wait till morning. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go to Suchtol, wait till morning, and then come back.
Leave it. Shoot.
Huh?
Some
Call off that dog.
the scruff of the neck.
Where's... Oh, there you are. Hi, Pebbles. I'm gonna go to Suchtol real quick. Have a sleep. At least for an hour or two. Then head back. Lone soldier. Yeah, let's see. Man smiles at me. Oh. Hey, buddy. What's up? Where you going?
What do you want at this time of night?
I don't know.
Where are you headed?
I'm taking a respite right now, but otherwise I'm looking for work. I'd like to enter into the service of a lord, but no luck yet. It's a sign of the times. Nobody wants outsiders in their retinue, and I don't want to join the army.
Have you ever served before?
I have. The Lords of Raborsh, when they still owned the place.
I know those guys.
I've been to Raborsh.
Really? I don't remember you.
I arrived near the end. I saw it all with my own eyes.
So you know what happened then? Old Lord Odorin was captured, and they say that young Christopher survived by sheer luck. But I didn't find out any of this until the next day.
Hang on, I don't understand. How did you save yourself?
Well, they found me on the bank of the castle moat in the morning. During the attack, I fell into the water and almost drowned. I can't swim.
That was one hell of a blessing in disguise, my friend.
Yeah, but now I'm stuck. I can't find any decent place to serve. I can only pray I'll find something, only not so bloody this time. Goodbye, and take care. Have a nice evening.
Wish I could send him to Godwin. You know, the son of his lord. Yes, Klaus, this time of night.
Go!
In fact, for Henry, it's after midnight. So it's extremely late. What's he doing up at this time of night? Is there a shrine anywhere where I can pray? Where I can pray. I don't think there is one in Suchthol. Dude. That's unfortunate. Is there one in the fortress? An indulgence chest? That doesn't help me. Yeah, let's go to the fortress. Oh, it's after midnight for you too. Oh yeah, that's right. You are you're ahead. Forgot you're on Atlantic time, aren't you? I still just profoundly despise time zones, you know? I don't like them. Don't like time zones. I'm not a big fan. I've whined about this incessantly, almost to no end. No, I just don't like time zones. Wait, what? Can't get in? I have a bed here, don't I? My bed. Am I no longer permitted to sleep here?
I'm just getting warmed up.
Oh. Am I no longer permitted to sleep here? Yeah, it's in the tower. It's supposed to be. Up there.
Now that's what I call an open.
See if I can go this way. Oh, there's no door.
Huh? What are you doing, prowling about here?
Prowling? Prowling? Looking for a place to sleep. Now here we go. Maybe. Might work. Nope. Not supposed to be in there. Well, that's irritating. Well, says I always like time zones. Not only do they make scheduling across distances easier. Easier? What? They also come from railroads, and I like trains. Yeah, but why can't we just... Okay, look. I have said this
easy
a lot of times. That really what we ought to do is we ought to have two working times for two very different purposes. Because there are two very different purposes for which we use timing, just in general. On the one hand, if we need to schedule across, different longitudes, sorry, latitudes, no, longitudes. If we need to schedule across different longitudes, how we do that is we just settle on Earth time. We just use GMT. Or we just use Eastern time, because, New York or whatever. But GMT is sort of the standard. And so we just do what airlines do and just go by Zulu. Or, the equivalent. Is that right? I'm locked out? What? Hi. Can I go in and see if I can get a place for the night? You gotta be kidding me. This is absurd. There's gotta be somewhere where I can just lie down and go to sleep. Do you have a hayloft? You must have a hayloft. Anyway, but yeah, let's just do what airlines do and just use Zulu for what military time does, and just go with a consistent zoneless time. On the other hand, for actual living life, I would much prefer to use absolute local solar time. And by local solar time, I mean put a sundial in your parish lawn, and everyone there sets their clocks by that. And yes, that will change throughout the year, but who cares? It is consistent for local use, and so we will use it locally. Why can't I take a nap? It is already almost dawn. Henry has not slept for 3 days. Quick, somewhere else. Where I have a bed. Do I have a bed in Visoka? No, I don't. This is so irritating. How about Rabosh? I don't think I have a bed in Rabosh either. No, I don't. Obviously not in Apodowitz. Bohonowitz? No, nothing. So irritating. So irritating. Could go all the way back to the Devil's Den, but that's worse. Miskovitz. I have a bed in Miskovitz, right? Right? There is a bed in Miskovitz. It says your bed. Right. Am I on my horse? Yes, I am. Let's go to Miskovitz. How with this? It's gonna be passed on by the time I get there.
Good people, gather round. You won't believe this. A whole village burnt to the ground.
Yeah, here we go. Go ahead and sleep for a couple of hours here, why not? Yeah, nah, Henry's getting all grumpy. You don't want to be around Henry when he's grumpy. He gets hungry. Speaking of hungry, I'm going to wake up and have some honey for breakfast. Henry is a little bit of a Pooh Bear.
Well, this doesn't seem too bad.
Okay. Now, the other thing is, let me find a shrine where I can pray. Yeah, there's one in town. Perfect. My morning prayers. late morning. Morning nonetheless. Where is it? It's over here somewhere, right?
Hey! You nearly ran into me!
I have a horse and you don't. What are you going to do about it? Where is it?
Apples! Juicy apples!
Where is it? Oh, I passed it because I'm a
Yellow,
dingus.
red.
Okay.
Buy some apples.
Out of his own castle.
Over
You
here.
see where that ginger fox singer's been?
There it is. Okay. Okay. Here we go.
You have a kind master, eh, Matt?
The angel of the Lord declared unto Mary, and she conceived of the Holy Spirit. Hail Mary. Mary said, Behold the handmaid of the Lord. Be it done unto me according to thy word. Hail Mary. And
It's
the
funny.
word was made flesh.
I don't know if you noticed this, but at
dwelt
the
among us. Pray
the
for
feast
us,
of the
O Holy Mother of God, that we may be made
the Immaculate
worthy of
Conception
the
last
promises
Monday.
of Christ. Let us
The gospel reading
Pour forth,
was the
we beseech
Annunciation.
thee, O Lord, thy grace into our
And I have to
hearts,
assume it's
that we,
because
to whom the incarnation
it is
of
because of
Christ,
Gabriel's
thy
greeting.
Son,
Hail,
was made
hail
known
full
by
of
the
grace.
message of an angel.
The Lord is
made
with thee.
by
That
his
whole
passion
thing.
and cross,
But
brought to the
also,
glory of
we're
his
not really
resurrection.
dodging the
Through the same Christ our
accusations of being confusing about the conception, the Immaculate Conception coming only a few days before the Nativity.
Praise God.
Because there's a lot of Protestants and more so atheists who are like, oh, well, you think that Jesus was conceived only just a couple weeks before he was born? You must be stupid or something. I'm just like, no, you have no idea what you're talking about. Because it's talking about Mary. But also, listen, the feast, the gospel reading for the feast is also the reading of the Annunciation. So we are we're steering into the oh, that's kind of confusing skid, I will say.
Quick!
But whatever. He's angry and tells anyone he fights about it. Yeah, true. Also, Grace says, I wanted to make a joke about him being on a bender for a certain type of sniffing powder, but that would be wildly anachronistic. Yeah, because I think cocaine, coca, generally speaking, was native to New World, right? They wouldn't have had access to it. Now, they would have access to some relevantly similar drugs and whatnot. Basically, they would have access to certain things that would keep you awake and overly energize you. What would be my favorite book of the Bible if I have one? Wisdom, probably. Maybe Gospel of John. It alternates between Wisdom and John's Gospel for favorite, and then Sirach is always a close third after whichever one of those is my favorite today.
Oh, you pooch.
Coca plant is native to South America. Yeah, I thought so. Oh, what's his name is still there. Huh? Oh, I have to go. I can go around this way to get there. Okay, I see. I understand. I should have realized. Tutorial. What's the other one? Himsim says John is my favorite gospel, very theologically heavy. Why do you like Wisdom of Solomon so much? It is for the same reason John Paul II liked it so much. It is it's deeply philosophical, and it has, I think, more than any other book of the Old Testament, it has a great deal of prefiguring of the Trinity. Because the wisdom of God is in a lot of cases personified, like separately personified, personified as distinct from God, and Christian theologians have long debated whether that is a reference to the Son or the Holy Spirit, but it's definitely one of them, which I think is just very cool. So that's one thing, very Trinitarian. It's very, I suppose I should say proto-Trinitarian. And then also that it is, it forms a great deal of the basis for the, forms a great deal of the basis for the connection between faith and reason in Catholic theology, or in philosophy for that matter. And I think it's no accident, it's no coincidence that the Protestants got rid of a bunch of the wisdom literature, especially the Book of Wisdom, but also Sirach and a bunch of the Deuterocanon. And they have a really, really bad theology of faith and reason. Because so much of the Catholic theology of faith and reason, like the books that Pope John Paul II cites most in Fides et Ratio are, number one, as far as the Old Testament goes, Wisdom, Psalms, Sirach. And the Protestants don't have 2 out of 3 of those. I mean, okay, look, yeah, Genesis screams Trinity when it says, let us make man in our image. Sure, I guess, but also we have the royal we as a, and the divine we as a relatively common literary device, so I wouldn't push that too much. What is Sirach about? I have yet to open it. It is, it's the Book of Wisdom dark mode. Let me put it that way. I love both of them. It's whether I'm in a choleric mood or a melancholy mood, or not a choleric mood, a phlegmatic mood, melancholy mood. The Book of Wisdom is very upbeat and is very joyous, celebratory. Not as much as the Psalms. The Psalms is the far end of that. But Sirach is it's I don't know, darker and more lamenting kind of wisdom literature kind of thing. Ecclesiastes is very similar to Ecclesiastes in that sense, which I also like. If I'm picking my favorite book of the Old Testament that we share with the Protestants, I would probably go with either Ecclesiastes or Genesis. But probably Ecclesiastes. Yeah, Protestants have taken out 2 of my favorite 3 books of Scripture. It's really disappointing.
Are you the one they call Crow?
I'm only Crow to good friends, or strangers who want to punch in the gob.
Oh,
Which
sorry.
group do you belong to?
Well, neither, I reckon. But I hope that'll change. I want to join your regiment.
You and a dozen other ne'er-do-wells. I've had fellas pestering me ever since Radovan let slip that we get double the pay. Go and ask Lord Borumlaka, I mean. He's been taking on all kinds of mercenaries. You'll fit in better with his rabble.
Oh, that'd be a waste of my talents.
Oh, really? How's that?
The one that couldn't go tournament. I beat Lord Grabo in a duel. That's actually quite good. Let's go with I'm a blacksmith. That's pretty handy. Klaus, I don't like your proposal. So Klaus proposed, have the Feast of Christ the King be on a different day depending on the country. It occurs on the Sunday before the country's primary civic holiday. I don't know about that. I think it bows too much to the ways of the world. Although I guess you can make an argument that it is a sort of an attempt to Christianize or reappropriate pagan festivals or something like that. But I don't know. I think that could be far too much of a. It could seem too much like following the ways of the world. Like I've heard some, like the Sunday before the primary civic holiday, that being the 4th of July in the U.S. I've heard some really bad homilies. Like pretty darn bad. So, yeah, I'd hesitate to do something like that. Oh, Imsimp wanted me to repeat what I said about Sirac. I said it's basically wisdom but dark mode. It's a more dour bit of wisdom literature, but still quite good. I like it a lot.
I'm a blacksmith. That's useful, isn't it? You're bound to need stuff hammered straight or sharpened all the time.
Aye, we need that. God knows we do. But that doesn't mean we have to let you join up, does it?
I know how to make gunpowder. Imsim says Christ the King is a really big deal in Mexico. The great-grandparents were Cristeros, who shouted Viva Cristo Rey amidst government persecution. Well, Viva Cristo Rey, amen. Absolutely. Well, okay, maybe you're onto something. Maybe you're onto something. I don't know. It's just that American civic holidays tend to encroach more upon the church than the church encroaches upon them.
I know about herbs. If you have a sore throat, or need some extra energy, or you've got food poisoning, I'm your man.
That kind of thing always comes in handy, but we have a physician, and one that half the world would envy us. We don't need another.
Yeah, well, Isidal succeeded. Should I go with this? Let's go with Lord Garbov.
Didn't you see me fight Zavish von Garbov recently? It made a big splash.
I don't have time for that kind of thing. But the men mentioned it in the bathhouse, that's true. Defeating an experienced knight like Zavish is no mean feat. But the answer's still no.
Oh, damn it, is that still not enough for you? What more do you want?
For you to stop hassling me. You're a bit pushy for my liking. It's a bit suspicious.
Really? Yeah, let's just go with Serve King Sigismund. I did just have dinner with the man, or served the man dinner. Class says, I understand the issue with crap homilies. Perhaps pair the schedule change with Bishop's guidance. The purpose of it is to remind everyone that regardless of local politics, Christ comes first. And that is, I will say, that is very often, at least at our parish, I don't know really elsewhere, but on Christ the King Sunday, that is more often the kind of homily that you get. At least I do. And that's good. That is an absolutely important reminder. And yeah, putting it right before the major civic holidays of whatever country it is, that could work. But again, I think it would require a lot of direction and instruction. The problem is that a lot of local priests don't necessarily listen to those kinds of instructions. And quite frankly, a lot of bishops would not give those instructions very well. So I don't know. I think it could be great if done really, really well, but if it falls short at all, it could cause a lot more harm than good. Imsimp is enjoying Samuel, mainly because I enjoyed the story of David. He reminds me much of myself. Stumbles a lot and struggles with sin. Sometimes God uses imperfect people to enact his perfect plan. Well, yeah, absolutely. David's a great example of that. Fantastic example of that.
I want to serve the king, is all. Sigismund should take things in hand here and impose order, since Wenceslas isn't capable of it.
Interesting. Most people in these parts have other ideas.
Only I'm not most people. Please. Just give me a chance.
All right. We lost a couple of men recently in any case. You know what? I'll go and see Katz, our commander. He'll know what to do with you.
Excellent.
Who the fuck are you?
My name's Henry, sir. And I want to enlist.
So you turn up and expect us to drop to our knees in awe? Crow, why did you let this fucker in?
I thought you might want to take a look at him. He
Very
may not
American
know when
accent.
to hold his tongue, but he said he knows about all kinds of healing herbs. That could come in handy.
Well, if that's true, but we'll have to try you out first in any case. I have this issue here.
Ah, you're not going on about that stupid charter again, are you? How many more men will you send to find it?
As many as it takes. Don't tell me you're not fed up with being stuck here. So this is your test, Henry. Either you come back as one of us, or you don't come back at all. What do you say?
Here the guidance class says, with a stoppage of consecrating crappy bishops and priests. I mean, if we could do that, I don't know what more we would need to do. That would kind of that would solve a lot of the problems in the church by itself. Yeah, his accent is a little bit out of place, I will admit. But I talked about this last week, though, that we culturally just associate old-timiness with British accent, but that's not actually, like, at all correct. I think it's really just out of place, one, because of our weird cultural assumptions, but then two, just because it's so shockingly different from all of the accents of the other voice actors around him. But yeah. Imsimpes, are there any Bible aids? My Dewey Reams has some notes on the bottom by Bishop Challoner, but not on every chapter, mainly for clarification. It is a faithful translation of the Vulgate. Yes, it is. That helps. I mean, yeah, there's all sorts of like study guides and study Bibles and things like that. And just picking up and reading the Bible without guidance is quite frankly can be dangerous. I think an unguided reading of Scripture is liable to give rise to all sorts of errors. Which, I mean, we have Protestantism to show that to us, right? Yeah, you can go with a study Bible, or you can follow homilies on the different texts that you're reading. Something like that could help. They use a lot of words St. Jerome would know, like instead of saying commander of many men, it simply says centurion or tribune. And those terms developed 5 centuries after the time of King David. Yeah, right. Which, I like that sort of thing. And that also speaks to the medieval mindset as well, right? Look at medieval art, right? Medieval art always puts the past in the style of the present. Always. There was never an attempt at depicting the past as it was, because that would be alien to the reader or to the viewer. So you find these Old Testament battles depicted in medieval artwork, as with cataphract knights and like arming swords and shields, and modern weaponry and armor, and you see depictions of Old Testament courts, like the court of King David or King Solomon, as at that period of royal court, with the art depicting the contemporary fashions of the time it was made, which I actually think that's very, very cool. It's essentially like, if Adam sees this, he's going to be mad, but it's basically like the whole Leonardo DiCaprio adaptation of Romeo and Juliet. I forget what it's called, but basically, like, it's adapting a historical piece using contemporary jargon, cultural touchstones, fashion, technology. And so that instead of the 2 families, it's 2 gangs, and instead of rapiers, it's guns, and instead of whatever Italian city it is, it's L.A. or whatever it is, stuff like that. I think that kind of thing is I absolutely respect that. Like, I would so watch a like an 80s action movie version of a lot of the things depicted in the Old Testament, like the Book of Judges kind of thing. Like Samson, as played by Sylvester Stallone, but not played by Sylvester Stallone like he's an ancient Near Eastern warrior, but played by Sylvester Stallone like he's Rambo. Like, that would be so hardcore. I would love that kind of thing so much. Yeah, Amsim says medieval art depicted Roman soldiers as Byzantine. Yes, or sometimes depicted Roman soldiers as knights in chainmail or in plate mail. Very often, that happens. Tim Sim says, I've been in the middle of arguments about that art. Some Byzantine historians point to descriptions of religious art as proof of certain armors, while others state it is simply an artistic choice, regardless of other gear being accurate. No, it is absolutely a depiction of. Well, that's the thing. Medieval art is not a reliable account of what it's depicting, but it can be a really reliable account of what is contemporary or a little bit before the artist, right? And so if you look at, by the way, if you look at any of the thumbnails for this whole playlist, for this entire series, all 30-something episodes of this, right? Every single one, almost every single one, I think there are a couple of exceptions, are period artwork from manuscript illuminations and a couple of tapestries. So all of the thumbnails are either directly or adapted from medieval artwork, most of which were as close as I could get to contemporary to this game. Some of them are a little earlier, some of them are a little later, some of them are different parts of Europe, but they're all from mainland Europe, a couple from England, and they're all from the 10th through 15th centuries. And so you can look at that, and you can look at. By the way, the site I get these from is linked below. There's a great database called Manuscript Miniatures, where I get a lot of these, most of them, and it's very searchable by year, by region, by tag, like by what it's depicting, that sort of thing. And you can look through and see like what year things were, and then you can sort of trace the development of armor, not by what they're depicting, because a lot of these, like I said, are Old Testament images wearing like chainmail and brigandines. Like that's not accurate at all, or like surcoats. But you can trace the development of arms and armor technology, especially, but also of various cultural trends through when they were made, when the depictions were drawn, which is fascinating. I absolutely love that. I love that as a cultural trend. Which, by the way, is also why, for example, Tolkien. Why it feels so natural that Tolkien is writing about things that happened in the Third Age of Middle Earth, which he imagines as being from thousands of years ago in our world, and them having high medieval technology. And that feels perfectly natural. But then also him writing about the hobbits, and the hobbits having Edwardian technology, roughly speaking, like slightly pre-industrial technology. That's fascinating too, because that is it's the difference between the known, the comfortable and the known before all these changes just happened, because Tolkien's writing at the very tail end of the Industrial Revolution, didn't like it very much. And so he's writing the familiar but the old-fashioned and the homely as the Shire, which is his homely place. Then the farther away, the mythic rest of the Middle Earth, rest of the world, which is very mythological. We associate that with things that were written in the Middle Ages, right? Things like the Arthurian legends, things like Morte Arthur, and things like the Canterbury Tales, even like Divine Comedy, things that were written in the Middle Ages, even if they were written about things that are much older, had a medieval aesthetic and had medieval technology. And so when the Fellowship goes to Rohan, to Gondor, they have the technology of high medieval kingdoms, or maybe early medieval kingdoms in the case of Rohan. Right? But we still have this mythic past, but not nearly as mythic past as it ought to be. It's still weirdly anachronistic, if you really think about it from the standpoint of like real history verisimilitude. It's bizarre, but all of it feels right, because this forms the entire basis of our cultural assumptions, or at least artistically, even though we don't think about it like that. Anyway, I think it's really cool. It's fascinating. All this stuff, this how mythology was depicted and described is utterly fascinating. Which is why, by the way, that the Tales of King Arthur, even though they're supposed to basically take place in the 5th century, right? If history is any indicator Arthur was king of the Britons in late Rome, the late Roman Empire, so the 5th century roughly, and yet he is consistently depicted as essentially as knights in shining armor, and cavalry with jousts and stuff like that, like high medieval, like late even high medieval culture and technology, because that's when it was written. That's when most of the legends were written down. They were told with the familiar about the legendary past, which is just so fascinating. I love it. I love it. I just love that kind of that. Call it a technique, call it a cultural assumption, call it what you want, but I love it. Jim Sim says there's an abbey close by that was built a few years ago with mosaics in the medieval style. Oh, very nice. Awesome. All right.
Well, I could give it a go.
Now that's what I call enthusiasm. With an attitude like yours, we'll never get out of this shithole. Listen up, then. Some of our men have gone missing. 7 of them. And with them a wagon with horses, to be precise. They had a very important cargo they were supposed to take to Sedlitz, but they never arrived there.
It seems they were last seen somewhere between Miskovitz and Rabstein. But that was ages ago. Christ knows where they might be now.
Yeah. Okay.
Hang on. Why would they go past Miskovitz? That's not on the way to Sedlitz.
That's what I don't understand. But you can ask them if you find them.
Okay.
Do you think someone ambushed them?
It's possible. The locals aren't too fond of us.
I don't give a shit what happened to them. They could have been eaten by squirrels for all I care. I just want that painted chest they were carrying.
Yes, sir.
There's a very important charter in it, and we need it back. Got that?
And what should I do when I find these fellas?
What do you think? Free them if someone's holding them. Bury them if they're dead. Kill them if they've deserted.
What, take down 7 men by myself?
Do you want to be a fucking soldier or not? All right, then. If things get tough, come and see me and we'll sort it out somehow.
All right.
All right, I think I understand. Find the men and bring back the charter.
Wait, damn it! You don't know the most important bit yet. Mishek, one of those 7, came back.
And you're only telling me this now? So question him, and we'll know what's going on, won't we?
Go ahead and try it yourself, genius.
Mishek was brought back on a cart. Some peasant found the poor bloke unconscious on the road and brought him here. He's been in the infirmary since then. But you can stop by, and maybe the Sawbones will be able to tell you something. His name is Musa.
And let me tell you, you ain't never seen a man like Musa before.
That's about it, then. Now on your way.
Don't worry, sir. You can rely on me. Consider it done.
Hergott, lad. You're pretty sure of yourself.
A bit too sure, if you ask me.
Isn't he just? You know what? Go and see Puta, the captain of the mercenaries who serve here. Some extra work will do you good. He'll go and requisition some supplies with him. And with a bit of luck, you'll get us something to eat without us having to torch another village. Now go. And don't get yourself killed, all right?
What? Take down 7 men. Henry, sir, you've killed like 20 people at a time or more. No, I killed 20 people twice. Twice. 2 nights ago.
Jesus Christ be praised.
Amen. Oh. Thomas of Colleen? Wait. How do I know this guy?
Greetings.
Never mind.
See you later, my friend.
That's the guy who wants me to steal. On behalf of Sigismund. I'm not going to do that. But thanks. That's not going to... Good. Alright, let's see. Musa, I'm going to wash again, because I'm all nasty. I got about 20 minutes. Let's see.
Good to see you.
Greetings.
Commander Katz sent me. I'm supposed to find the soldiers who went missing. It seems one of them is in your infirmary.
Yes, Mishek. He's lying over there and will remain lying for long. He was badly stabbed, and it will take weeks before he comes to his senses.
But I need to talk to him.
Then you shall have to wait. When he was brought here, he was mumbling about some wagon on a place called Lota. But then he passed out and did not awake again.
Lota?
Isn't there anything we can do? I don't need him to be healed, just to wake up for a while. What if we brew something with mint? That wakes me up like nothing else.
That is not such a bad idea, Henry. One can make a decoction from verilion and mint, which is called cockerel potion. It will not heal the poor wretch, but it might wake him up for a bit. But it must be very strong. Not like what is sold by the quacks.
Well, lucky you, because I have like
Hold
10
on.
of those.
I have something like that here.
And is it a strong enough decoction?
We'll soon find out.
Very well, friend. I will try to trust you.
Yeah, I have, several extremely powerful cockerels. Let's just use one of the strong ones. Save the good ones for myself.
All right. We'll see if I brewed it properly.
Whoa. What's happening? Where am I?
Here we go.
Calm down, Mishek. How are you feeling?
Like I was kicked in the head by a horse.
You might have been.
How do you know who I am?
No, we don't have time for introductions. I need to know what happened to you and the others you went to Sedlets with.
Oh, that. What do you want to know?
The document you were carrying. Where is it? What's in it?
I've no idea. Katz didn't tell us anything, and I can't read. Some report for the king, most likely.
Dang. Also, that is a very nice floral pattern scabbard, which, again, very similar to mine. But funny enough. I have to wonder if the design of this sword is based somewhat off of Henry's. It's too similar not to be. Like, the only real difference is the specific inscriptions on the guard, right? Which are more star-like and wavy. And then also the, I don't know if you show, here we go, the fishtail pommel rather than a coin pommel, which I actually like a lot better. But it's shockingly similar in many ways to Henry's.
I need to know where the rest of the men who are riding with you to Sedlets are. I have to find them.
I'm not sure. We talked about Lotta. It seems there's a sawmill there they could hide in.
Excuse me.
So maybe they're there. Listen, will I be all right? What are my chances?
Can I say anything?
What actually happened? Start at the beginning and don't leave anything out.
We were riding to Sedlets, me and 6 others. We were taking some gifts or something. A couple of crates with some valuables and a kind of painted chest with some documents. Karel and Francex talked the others into nicking the stuff and doing a runner. But I was against it. So they jumped me. I don't feel well. What's wrong with me?
The brew is wearing off, most likely.
I'm going to die, aren't I?
No, you're not going to die. But you won't be on active duty anytime soon. You need to rest.
Rest? Yes, I should. Get my strength back.
Okay. Okay. What else is there? Oh. A couple things down here. The baths. check that out first before we get out of here. By that I mean, honestly, we're probably going to pick up those quests, and then we are probably going to call it for the night, because we only have 10-15 minutes. This is what I get for just sitting around for so long. It's alright, we had a good conversation, so that's fine. That's what this is for, anyway. Right?
I've traveled the whole world, and now I will tell you the amazing things I've...
Actually finishing this game will happen eventually, but it might be a little while.
Service is kind of slow today.
Oh, Puta. There he is.
Greetings. Do you need something?
I'm supposed to report to you about supplies.
Finally! They sent me someone who isn't wet behind the ears and doesn't have straw sticking out of his boots.
What's this about, then?
I need to requisition supplies for the camp from the locals. Grub for us, fodder for the horses.
Where do you want to get the supplies?
We haven't been to Bohunjovitz in a while. I reckon they can't wait to see us.
Won't the people resist?
They will, but fuck all good it'll do them. We'll chase them out of their houses, bring in the cart, and take whatever we can.
And what if something goes wrong?
That'll only happen if we take our eyes off them. Then there might be bloodshed, but usually not ours.
Well, they're going to do it regardless, so...
Who's coming along?
Me, and they usually send some humans along because people are afraid of them.
That's not much.
And that's why you're coming with me. But don't worry, I already sent a couple of blokes ahead to get everything ready. I reckon they can handle a few peasants.
I don't need to hear any more. Hold on a moment. We'll head out as soon as
we'll
I
do this
get
next
back.
week.
What kind of fucking soldier are you? If I wasn't so low on men, I'd send you back to the shithole you came from. You have 3 days, then we're leaving without you. You don't want a hungry army on your hands. The men turn into brutes and do whatever they can to get their hands on food. They'll kill, steal, and all because of a mutt like you who had something else to do.
No, don't worry. I won't let that happen.
To make me share my tent with
Okay, 3 days. Good to know. Good to know. Wait, there was another quest, wasn't there? They're both behind me. They're both here. There's him, but there was another one. What's the other one? Was it Catherine?
You're looking at the Prague Regiment's newest recruit.
I was wondering why I had a sudden urge to kick your backside. I'll tell Zizka and the others to get ready for the ambush. How's the departure for Sedlets looking?
Kat said some soldiers of his have gone missing. They had with them some charter they can't leave without. He sent me to find him.
So what are you doing here? Waiting for me to bake you some cakes for the journey or what? I'm getting fed up with playing the bath maid.
You said you needed my help with something?
I do. It's just... Well, it's not easy to talk about, you know? Someone's been following me. I haven't actually seen anyone, but I can't help feeling someone staring at me all the time. And once, I even heard something.
I mean, you are playing the bath wench. I'm sure there's plenty of men staring at you.
What did you hear?
The other night, I was woken up by a man's voice. Like he was standing close by and whispering.
Do you think someone's found out who you are?
Judging by the mumbling, I reckon this is about something else entirely. But you never know what a creep like him might notice. I'd feel a lot better if you could get rid of him somehow.
Greetings.
Well, Henry does have a very nice little rondel dagger.
Did you understand what the bloke was saying?
Not a word. It didn't sound like Czech.
What did it sound like? Polish? German?
Hungarian.
No, well, yeah.
You can't mistake their gibberish for anything else. I reckon it was some human.
When did all this happen?
About 2 days ago. It was quite late at night. I haven't
Bro,
slept a
someone
wink
I got
since.
here.
Has anything else strange happened?
No. Except maybe... I lost a shoe.
A shoe? Just one?
That's just what's so strange about it. If both went missing, I just think someone stole them. But one? What good is one of my shoes to anyone?
Don't ask that.
I could think of a few things.
No, Henry!
Yuck.
Let's hope it's nothing serious. But we should find the bloke and have a word with him.
What do you plan to do?
Give me the other shoe.
Well, if he really did steal your shoe, Mutt could track him down.
That's not a bad idea. But you'd have to give him something to get the scent.
You've got the other shoe, don't you? You can't walk around with one shoe on anyway. And Mutt's dependable.
It's not Matt I'm worried about. Just sort things out with a creep. That's all I care about.
I can explain to him that a woman like you isn't for him.
I suppose. If you tell him firmly enough.
All right. I'll see what I can do.
Got a nice sword for telling him. Yeah.
But now go. We both have work to do.
All right, then. So, we have the Stalker to do, and we have less than 3 days to do it, which is fine, I think. Wait for the peeping Tom in the bathhouse. I could do that, but I'll just wait. All right, cool. So, that's all the time we got. We're basically out of time. So, we will pick up here next time. We have 3 days to do this quest. Then we have to return back to the escort one, and then we have to go find out what happened to the team that went to Sedlitz. All that should be next week, I think. We should be able to handle all that. We'll see. But that is next week, so that is the day before Christmas Eve. Which does also mean that we are not streaming next Thursday, because it's Christmas, obviously. I might try and do something over that next weekend, the following weekend. We'll see if I can make up for the Expedition 33 stream that we'll be missing, because we've been missing a lot of those. But do expect this Thursday to be streaming Expedition 33. That is the plan as of right now. So, anyway, hope you guys are having a wonderful Advent. Happy birthday to Erica. Happy slightly belated 0th birthday to Ben. And I will see you all next time. So, thanks for joining me. It was a good time. Hopefully we get that whole channel sorted out. We'll figure it out. Erica, if you don't know how to do it, we can brainstorm on it. And anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Until then, remember, don't be safe, be well, more importantly, be good. Good night, folks.